Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to our Dungeons and Dragons game. I'm your host, the Dungeon Master, and this is basically episode one for a new era in our game. We're trying something different now. We've gone from a lot of stuff that was more traditional fantasy. Now we're going to be doing urban fantasy in a modern Earth setting. When we last left our adventurers, they wrapped up the previous campaign where they finally obtained the Rod of Seven Parts. They defeated Atropos the Endbringer, and they went back to Earth. Now, in this new adventure, we see that as soon as they reached Earth, all hell broke loose. No pun intended. But before we get into all of that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love hearing from you guys. We've got an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to today's story begins in London, England, in the year 2013. We start with a man named Brad. He was born human, but when the Spelljammers arrived on Earth 1 year ago, something weird happened. The Shadowrun role playing game refers to this as goblinization. It's where, for some reason, a percentage of human beings slowly begin to change into fantasy races. The overwhelming majority who do actually change become dwarves, elves, gnomes, halflings, orcs, etc. But Brad changes into a troll. It's a slow change. Every day over the last year, he got bigger and stronger. He looked a bit more green, so on and so forth. And in his travels as a mercenary named Killfrost, not once has he met another troll. Because of this, most people just think he's a big orc for some reason. Now, Killfrost is in London, where many of those spelljammers from the last campaign landed at a place called Rudlow Manor a year ago. King Arthur is now the King of England, and many of the adventurers that return to Earth with him are now the new Round Table. Killfrost is here to see if members of the Round Table get paid. If so, how well are they paid? And if the price is right, could they use his skills as an ex-soldier and a seasoned mercenary? Which brings us to the main plot of adventure number one. Killfrost couldn't smuggle weapons through airport security, so he decided to just buy them when he arrived. So one night, he's meeting with a contact of his named Nigel Moxley, who owns a pawn shop. But what not many people know is that he's also tied to the Ragbone crime syndicate. So Killfrost is trying to buy illegal firearms from Nigel. Killfrost buys some gear and is walking out of an alley with Nigel when he sees a zombie shambling down the street. Some nearby human kids are watching this and laughing, recording it with their cell phones, and they assume it's someone who's just really drunk until the zombie attacks the nearest human being, biting into their neck and infecting them. And at this point, I should mention a couple of things. The first is that I was playing White Lines, aka Don't Do It, which was a song that was featured on the movie Shaun of the Dead, which I was very much trying to do an homage to. The second thing I should mention is that I wasn't really running zombies the way they normally are in Dungeons and Dragons. Instead, I was running them the way that I see them in old horror movies. That got the attention of some of our newer players, along with several other house rules of mine. Honestly, we have so many house rules at this point where we use the attributes from D&D 3.5. I'm using the experience points award system from second edition AD&D, as well as random bits and pieces from 5e that I don't think I can even tell you what edition of D&D we're playing at this point. It's a Frankenstein amalgam of everything that I like. And honestly, I'm kind of thinking of maybe putting together an actual uh, book for this as like a setting book for Dungeons and Dragons. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet or not. We'll talk more about that later, maybe. Anyways, so a zombie attacks a human, and Brad pulls out a gun and thinks about taking the shot. But all of the player characters are moving into combat on their turn, and right now there is an army chaplain from America named James Patrick Francis, or Jim for short, and he's on the exact opposite side of the zombie. So if Killfrost takes the shot, he might hit Jim. And since we mentioned Jim, maybe now would be a good time for me to tell you who else is here. Volterra Yole is a hatchling dragon. For those who've been following our podcast, her name might seem familiar. Her dad was a red dragon named Volterus Yole, who, alongside Grabthar, was presumed to have been killed when Atropos attacked the world from the Dark Sun campaign setting. Volterra's mother is an air maiden. And for those unfamiliar, air maidens can be found in the Deities and Demigods book, and they basically look like angels. Our original idea was that the kid was going to basically look like a hot demon girl, like a succubus or something with red skin, who could respawn like an air maiden does. And instead of giving her a +3 Frostbrand sword, we were going to give her a +3 Flame Brand sword instead. But the more we thought about it, the less we liked that. So we decided to invert it. Instead of having the bone structure and muscle of an angel with the outer covering of a red dragon, we decided to have this new character, who, by the way, we call Terra for short, have the bone and muscle of a wormling red dragon, but then her outer covering is based on the angelic wings of the air maiden. So she's covered in white feathers and has big blue eyes. And the whole feather thing was sort of a joke about how now they think dinosaurs had feathers, but also this new half dragon air maiden got roasted all night long from the various players making jokes about how she looked like um, the love child of an alligator and a chicken and stuff like that. And by the end of the game, we were all laughing so hard that we all had tears in our eyes. And one of the guys doing the most roasting was a halfling rogue named Zach Linnaeus. I had every intention of him being sort of like the halfling version of Bruce Campbell. And for whatever reason, as I was running him as an NPC, the voice that came out of me was Norm MacDonald. So Zach went over very well and was the sort of like the crowd favorite of the night. The next character I want to tell you about is Josef Grunstein. He's a dwarven fighter who actually didn't get much time in the spotlight yet. So we haven't seen too much of his personality yet. Next up is Karen Wilkin, who is pictured in the channel art for this episode. She was an upper class human girl from a very wealthy family who turned into an elf. Karen has long blonde hair and a charisma of 18. She stands 5'1" and weighs 121 pounds. She kept getting hit on by my son's character, who is a pixie rogue. To be brutally honest, my son hasn't thought up a name for this pixie yet. He asked me for suggestions, and out of nowhere, I suggested Flit, but he wasn't wowed by it. So he asked my wife, and she also suggested Flit at random, which is kind of odd. We'd both come up with the same thing. Anyways, he did write Flit down on his character sheet, but at no point in the actual game did he ever say his name. So in my book, nothing is continuity until it happens in the game itself. So for now, I'm just going to refer to him as the Pixie. And he hit on the elf and he rolled dice and he got a natural 20. So the elf actually likes him. And that sort of changed the whole dynamic of the game because the pixie was going to act more like Zach. But then because of this pretty elf girl, the pixie felt pressured to kind of behave himself a little more. So that was interesting. In fact, I think it's safe to say no matter what we expected or what I had planned, nothing in this game session went as planned. Anyway, so a zombie is attacking a human. Everyone is rushing in to deal with it. And the troll ends up going into a bar to grab a bar stool. And because in my games, zombies are covered in blood and yucky stuff, I say that they don't need to bite or scratch you for you to get infected. Just touching any fluid from one will infect you. Tears, vomit, whatever, right? It'll all get the job done. So it became a strategy game from the get go, with everyone struggling to deal with the zombies without getting zombie juice on them and turning into a zombie themselves. So the troll smashes a zombie with a bar stool, and then we had to keep track of the splatter and where that was going. We used miniatures and a dry erase board that Brad brought with him. I sketched out a London street with stores, and we fought a single zombie at first. Once the first one was down, the player characters all interacted and got to know each other, and they formed a party. They said something about needing weapons, so Killfrost took them to Nigel Moxley's pawn shop, where they got all of their starting equipment: SWAT armor, knives, firearms, etc. As they are leaving Moxley's shop, another zombie shows up, and this time the half dragon air maiden uses her breath weapon like a flamethrower, destroying it. Killfrost has a keen sense of smell, and so the party follows the scent trail to where the zombies came from. This leads them to Brompton Cemetery, originally known as Westminster Cemetery, which is the first and only London cemetery to be Crown property. It is one of the magnificent seven cemeteries and is one of Britain's oldest and most distinguished garden cemetery, with 35,000 monuments, which mark more than 205,000 resting places. So at first, the dragon thinks that she is going to have to kill 205,000 zombies, but that was not the case. There are only a few zombies shambling through the cemetery, and one by one, the PCs deal with them. They encounter a group of three, and then after that, they encounter two more zombies that are traveling with a ghoul, who is a bit harder to deal with, but the player characters manage it. And that actually brings us to the epilogue of our first episode in this new series of games. The player characters are in Brompton Cemetery, where a wide set of gray concrete stairs leads down to double doors. These doors are old and dark green. Their handles are sculptures of snakes. The one on the right looks a bit like the letter S, while the one on the left is a mere reflection of the first serpent. On the bottom, in the center of the door, is a sculpture of a snake eating its own tail. also known as the Ouroboros, which is a symbol often used by the occult. And it is here because these doors lead into the ancient catacombs below London. And for those who have been following our podcast this entire time, you may remember that years ago in this same D&D campaign of mine, the catacombs under London contain a literal doorway to hell itself. The troll can smell a bit of sulfur and brimstone even from here, and a sense of unease washes over him as he thinks about his vulnerability to fire and the possibility that what comes next may lead the party into the flames of hell itself. But that's a story for another day. We enjoyed this adventure. We hope you did too. If so, as always, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. And from everyone here at our Dungeons and Dragons game, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.